right. Well, I think we're going to take questions, but first, it's always an honor to come here and to see a world-class program. Of course, competitive sports brings out the best in so many different areas, and when you see a facility like this, you see the best in sports. So when I look at Alabama football and what they've done here, probably the most dominant program over the last decade, maybe 2 decades, there's a lot to be said for it, and sometimes I feel like a lot to be learned that hopefully we can apply to my own craft. So truly a pleasure and honor to be here. Appreciate you guys being here as well, and all in anticipation, of course, the football season here at Alabama and the big race here at Talladega Superspeedway as well. So looking forward to talking about that a little bit with you guys, and just want to say thanks for being here.
Brad, what's your overall just impression when you walk in here and you see the trophies and just this whole program and the atmosphere around it?
Well, the overall impression is just a lot of pride. And when you think about a program as successful as this, it takes pride to make it successful, and a lot of other things as well. But the pride is really striking, and the connection that the community feels to this team and to this group of leaders and players is unprecedented, I think.
Feel a little weird as a Michigan fan?
No, not really, because, I didn't go to college. I went to the School of Racing Hard Knocks. So, there's allegiances as fans, but not as alma maters and, things of that nature. And I respect all the programs. In fact, I got family that's gone to all the school. Being from Michigan, it's a little bit weird that one of my cousins went to Ohio State and was Brutus the Buckeye. So I learned pretty quick to, because he's bigger than me and much stronger, I learned pretty quick not to, put down other programs and to appreciate and respect them. And this is one of the programs that, like I said, it's a world-class program, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done here and what they continue to do.
You gonna get any notes for Coach Harbaugh?
No, I don't think you have to worry about that. See, this goes back to that pride I was talking about. You guys are worried. Believe me, I don't know what I'm looking at. So my notes would be, big facility, a lot of players that look really tough and strong. I don't think that would be very helpful.
You said you may take away some of this stuff and use on the track. What did you mean by that? And just kind of.
Well, there's the passion points. About leadership. They got a great. You guys have already seen it. I feel like I'm kind of preaching to the choir. Some great analogies on what it takes to be successful and the commitment to excellence. And you see the graphics and constant reminders of that everywhere you walk, and that goes back to the pride that a program like this has.
Now that it's been playoffs, how have you felt like the changes this year have gone with the different stages and everything else NASCAR did?
I think we're just really starting to kind of see them play out with all the changes that NASCAR's made, but I think they've been, in my eyes, very successful. I feel, as a competitor, more engaged throughout the season than I did before, before you could win a race or two, and it was kind of like, well, let's just coast to the playoffs and not make anybody mad, and that doesn't always feel right as either a competitor or a fan of any sport. So now there's no excuse to not give it your all each and every week, because there's something to be gained each and every week. So I like that.
What are you looking forward to most about Talladega?
Well, when I look at Talladega this fall, being in the playoffs, of course, it's been a great track for us. We've won 4 times there. I feel like I'm going to have another really, really fast car. The Fords are incredibly strong on that type of racetrack, and I think we'll have an opportunity to win a 5th. So I have a handful of tracks where I've won 3 races at, a handful of tracks that, combining all the series, I've won 4 or 5 races at, but Talladega is still my winningest track, and it'd be really cool to get a 5th Cup win there.
Is it weird that this is Junior's last time there too?
Yeah, I'm kind of really anticipating the, energy and excitement. Talladega, what makes it kind of unique, among many other things, is that you can really feel the atmosphere from the crowd, mostly because your spotter talks so much there. And so the fans, when something happens with Dale, I know at the same time, because it comes through all the radios, and it has almost a feeling like a college football game where you can really feel the energy in the crowd, and they love some Dale Jr., so you can always tell when something's going on with him based on the spotter.
Brett, can you talk about the process. I know you talked to Josh about the process that Coach has here and how you can relate that to your race team. And Roger Penske had some of the same type thought process of what he demands of you guys.
Well, programs, especially racing programs, are often kind of pigeonholed into being successful because of one person. And, I'd like to joke with people I do about 10% of the work, and I feel like I get about 90% of the credit when we're good and even when we're bad. And that's not always fair. Racing is a team sport because we have, almost 400-some employees at Team Penske that work on the race cars each and every day. And I can promise you that they're not there for no reason. They're there to make the race cars fast. They're there to make them reliable so they don't break down. And they're there to engineer advantages. And, of course, a lot of them are there just for logistical reasons as we travel across the country. But really, when you connect the two sports and the leadership structures, there's a high level of professionalism that has to exist to attract the highest level of talent possible. And that's so key to your success. And so when I look at Coach Saban, my team owner Roger Penske, their stoic feel to them attracts some of the most talented personnel out there, out in the competitive landscape. And those people are bound to make you successful. So I feel very fortunate in my own way to have a lot of high talent professionals around us that make me look good. And sometimes I get maybe a little bit too much credit because it's their work that puts me in that position.
What's the biggest question you want to ask Coach Saban or talk to him about?
Biggest question? Probably just in his own words, why has he been so successful? And I always like to hear from people who are successful why they feel like they were successful, because I've learned over time that everyone has their own take on why people are successful, and usually the very successful people will tell you or give you an answer that doesn't line up with what the people around them will tell them. And I just like to hear their own take on it. So I'd say that's probably the biggest question I have for him.
Brad, I understand Talladega is going to make a donation to Nick's kids. Well, I mean, what do you feel about his charity and the way he's done it? I understand you're charitable as well. How important is that?
Well, I can't really speak too much to Nick's cause. I probably need to learn up a little bit, or read up a little bit and learn a little bit about it before going on record with that. But I would say that one of the things I think transcends all of sports is the commitment that you see and the capability to help the community. Because really sports are decadent by nature. Some more than others. I mean, motorsports, we burn a lot of fuel. But when you look at that, you ask, well, why did we do it then? We do it because sports enrich in the community. Sports bring people together in ways that really that nothing else can besides tragedy. And that's a powerful tool, and I think we're seeing, with a lot of the recent headlines, just how powerful it can be for good and for bad. So to see the respective leaders and their respective communities go out with their foundations and try to make a positive impact on the community is certainly something that I'm proud to be associated with, and with people that I'm proud to know. And I'm happy for Coach that he has his program to do that too, and to showcase that commitment as well, because the communities are what make sports successful, and we have a responsibility to give back to them, to send the elevator back down, so to speak, as we've rode it up to success, to help others. And I think that it's great to see programs like that exist across all the platforms.
You were one of the people who spoke up about recent news on your Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's important to use a platform such as yours to get the message out?
Well, it's always a difficult line because, a lot of people want to use sports to escape, the different realities or harshnesses of their life. And certainly the political stuff that goes on, a lot of people want to escape that. And so I can understand a lot of people turn to sports to get away from it. But, I also think sports are a great way to bring people together. You look at the foundation of the Olympics, which was to try to keep, world wars from happening. Now you can argue if that was successful or not. but it was done because of the basic context that sports bring people together in a way that enriches their lives and helps them overcome differences. And that's an amazing thing. So, there is always the stick to sports narrative that I think probably hits everybody in this room from time to time. And I think that's kind of garbage. That's a tremendous wasted opportunity and platform to have and to not use in a productive manner. And as long as you're using it as in a productive manner to enrich in the community, I think it's important with the audience that we're afforded, with the opportunities that we're given to make the most of it in a positive way.
Were you surprised at the kind of the firm stance guys like Richard Petty took when everything was sort of going on?
No, I don't really get surprised. Maybe that's because I'm getting older. I'm not really surprised by much at all. I do think that some of those takes, whether you're on one side or the other, probably get taken a little bit out of context. I think that's a piece of why it doesn't surprise me a little bit. And I'd like to see those get full context. But I understand with the landscape that it is and being so competitive out in the media that sometimes those things can be presented in ways that serve themselves to hot takes. But I don't necessarily think that was probably what they were aiming for.
If you had to line up at one position at Alabama football-wise, what would it be and why?
Well, I'm 6 foot tall and pretty skinny, which makes me a great race car driver and a terrible football player. So, if I walked in wearing a jersey, I think most people would probably assume I was the punter. But if I could have a dream job, I always wanted to be a quarterback. Physical realities are not of such to do that. All the quarterbacks I've met, you go to shake their hand and, my fingers end at about their palm. And that shows you how big their hands are and why they're so great at throwing a football. But I love the leadership aspects of football that a quarterback represents, his ability to make, real-time decisions that have tremendous impact and require a tremendous skill set to overcome adversity. Of course, the toughness aspect is something that we can relate to because we take hard hits and get back out on the racetrack. But the decision-making in real time with an entire team counting on you is so much in parallel with what it means to be a race car driver as a leader of a team and a leader of an entire effort to be successful. I can really relate to it, and it's something I always wished I could do, but physical limitations are what they are.
Is there a certain figure in NASCAR that you would compare Nick Saban to in terms of just legacy and domination?
Yeah, I would probably put him somewhere around a Chad Knaus. Chad's had 7 championships in NASCAR since 2002. And I think Coach Saban's he's had 4 here, right? Over the last decade and a half. But they bring that steady, constant leadership, and they're competitive every year. They never seem to have a down year. Or if they do have a down year, it's a second place, which most people would love to have their down years, right? So I would say there's some parallels there. Great leaders that have really elevated programs to another level.
Probably besides Harbaugh in Michigan, is there another coach that you would want to play for? If you could play football that you would enjoy or program?
I haven't thought about it a lot, but I would want to think that you'd go to the most successful program you could. And like I said, over the last 2 decades, at least the last decade, it'd be hard to argue against this one.
Any more questions? What we're going to do now, can you talk here? Over on the right side here, we've got an info sheet. We also have everyone a little bag with a nice little gift card to get you something neat on the way back.